Come on, let's go.
My name's Brandon, and if you guys have been following my journey on this channel, you know I was training for the Cocodona 250, and then I raced the Cocodona 250 and I DNF'd at mile 142.2 for many different reasons. So we wanted to make a follow-up. We've had a lot of people messaging or commenting, which is awesome, about kind of what I learned and what I would do differently and what they can do for their races. And specifically, it's been really cool that people who are racing Cocodona next year have been asking me what they could do for their race. So that's rad. So I'm gonna answer a few questions while we're out here. It's June. I've been running for 2 years. Okay. Right now, this month. And when I started, I was walking like a half marathon because of my ankylosing spondylitis. And 2 years later, I ran 142 miles. The disease is called ankylosing spondylitis, and you can learn a lot more about it on my Instagram at doasis. But it's basically, it's like a rare form of arthritis that is in my spine, and it starts fusing it together so I can't move. And so really the only way to stay ahead of it is to move. So I try and move as much as possible and show other people that have the disease that, like, we can go do anything we want.
Were you ever cross country or track?
No.
Runner?
I know what you're getting at there. Yeah. I have no talent in this arena whatsoever.
How tall? What's your height and weight?
I'm a Clydesdale, man, right?
Yeah.
I'm 40, 220 pounds, and 6'2". I'm a very unlikely runner.
What was your training philosophy going to the Cocodona?
Basically, it was just to destroy myself every time I went outside. I covered a lot of ground, but I didn't cover it fast enough. And I really, all I heard about was how hard the first day of Cocodona is gonna be. That's all I heard about was the first day. But, you know, they forget to talk about, like, the actual runnable sections in the second and third and fourth day after the first day is done. And I trained for that first day, just like a ton of climbing, just like 15,000 feet of vert a week. And when I got done with the first day in Cocodona, I felt really good. Like, I felt really strong. I got into Crown King. I had gone 37 miles, like almost 11,000 feet of climbing, and like I felt really good. And the first, you know, that section was behind me, and you know, my feet were just starting at that point to kind of go bad. But all in all, I felt good. And looking back, that's what I trained for. I didn't train for enough of the runnable sections where I could have made up time. That was like my big flaw last year. So okay, that's why I'm out hiking. Okay. Okay, good. Let's talk about gear. What gear worked for you? Well, first of all, it sounds like all the vert and all the hiking and all the mountain stuff got you through that first day. Yeah, and I mean, like, the hype around the first day of Cocodona on that course is, I mean, it's true. I mean, it's hard as fuck, but I trained for it. And like, I got done, I felt great. I wasn't tired, my legs weren't destroyed. I was like definitely ready for a lot more. But I forgot the question, so ask it again. Well, oh, my gear. Well, first of all, that training that you've done got you through that first day. The training you did for the climbing was great. Yes. What wasn't great was the ability to run. Yes, to pick up the pace, so to speak. Yeah, so I didn't really train like a lot of just flat running miles. I trained just hard ass climbing shit, and I think it was a disservice because after you leave Crown King, you can run, and especially once you get to Friendly Pines, like you can run a lot. And I just didn't have the running legs. Like I can climb all day long, but I just couldn't run. And you know, you put that together with whatever happened to my feet, which we'll talk about later. I fell behind on the cutoffs. Moving forward, training for next year, I need to be able to run a lot faster so I can make up the time so I can rest, because that's what really got me, was like I couldn't rest. I could never rest, and I was just finally
got cut off.
Yeah, I fell asleep in the dirt and got cut off.
Yeah. What gear worked? What gear didn't work? And how are you going to change it up for this next?
That's a good question,
race?
Because when you're slow like me, you need to be really efficient in and out of aid stations, like really efficient. And I spent way too much time fucking around with my stuff. Like I had multiple packs. I needed like new underwear, or take a shower, or this or that. It's like when you're fast, you can do all that stuff. When you're slow, you don't get to. And so the gear that works good for me is, I like the Cocodona Gators. I use those for everything. They're a badass company, and Austin over there sends me stuff that I use that is super tough. And then I use Ultra shoes, or the Speedland shoes are pretty sick too. And my Lakey poles, like I needed these on that Thursday to even get out of bed. And then I like these Solomon vests. The Madman here doesn't like them, but I do, because they stretch so much. You can put so much shit in these packs. But that's another problem, is I put way too much shit in this pack. Like you picked this thing up, dude.
Yeah, I know. And
went through it, and there's like so much stuff I didn't use, because you start getting tired and you just are like, just stuff it in there. Just put it in there, dude. And you end up carrying a lot of stuff you don't need.
All right.
So it's like,
so you need to minimize for next year.
Yeah, I need to be a lot more efficient and thoughtful as to what I really actually need.
You mentioned your shoes. Did you make a mistake on your shoes?
Yeah, I made a huge mistake. I think it really contributed to my race ending, because of my feet. My shoes were way too small, and my feet swelled so much that at the end of the race, I couldn't even really get a lot of my shoes on. And so I just picked a pair and left them on, and I lost 5 toenails. And if you guys want to watch the videos of me ripping them off, they're on my Instagram.
Or tell them to check out the highlights.
Or you can check out the highlights
up here somewhere.
Up here. We'll put a link to that video. But yeah, so now I wear like a size 12 now, or 11.5 now, from an 11, because my feet just swell so bad.
So the mistake that you think you made,
too small. You
needed shoes that were much larger.
Much larger. And the further you get into the race, I think the bigger the shoe you need.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna do anyways.
All right. What about your? I know you love them, and I love them too. But this Cocodona 250 thing's a whole different animal, and like you said, you don't have the luxury of all the time that these faster, quicker athletes have. What about the Exo toe socks?
I love the Exo skins, but I'm gonna try a few different things this year. I'm wearing the Ninjas right now.
Toe socks, or just
toe socks? But
okay.
I have like wool socks now. I have a couple different brands. I'm gonna try a bunch of different stuff. I think the Exo skin sock, I think it might be too thin for my feet, and I think my feet move around in them too much.
Well, let me ask you this. What about switching out socks?
Oh, I
think the time of trying to put, like, and your feet are already in this
your foot care, like I spent way too much time trying to take care of my feet. That's at a certain point in this race, your feet are just going to be terrible, and it's just the way it is. And next year, I'm just going to manage my feet up to a certain point, and then I'm just going to quit taking my socks and shoes off.
Did you get any actual blisters on the actual individual toes?
Yeah, on the ends of a few of my toes were big blisters.
Well, my question to you is then, because I was there, I saw you trying to put on those toe socks, and it was like a 20-minute ordeal.
Yeah, it's hard to put the toe socks on.
Is it worth it, or do you just go with a regular old sock?
I think once your feet get past a certain point, just pick a sock, put it on, and leave it.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
Gotcha. Talk about your clothing and dealing with the heat and the wind. And the cold, for that matter,
yeah,
at nighttime.
the heat and the wind. I love the exoskin, like arm sleeves, and their underwear that I'm wearing right now. That's what I used for the whole race, and especially in the heat. And I just wear like a sun hat. And honestly, the biggest thing for the heat is like just plan on moving a little slower and just stay hydrated, and you'll be fine. And that first day, like I left that last water stop, I left with 6 liters of water. And like I'm a big dude, so like I drink a lot of water, but I drank all 6 liters. And then at like mile 30, I found, after the last 1 liter water drop, I was already out again. I found a pond with my boy Hector, and we filtered a bunch of water. And had it not been for that pond, I would have been dehydrated when I got to Crown King.
What do you carry for your water filter?
What is it? The Cocodona?
Cocodona Be Free.
Cocodona Be Free is the best water filter.
Okay. Turn around right here.
We're gonna turn around right here.
Come on, Grace.
But my point is, if you're gonna do this race, take 5 to 6 liters of water. I mean, it's slow going, but like, you might need it.
What about nighttime and the cold temps?
It was weird, man. Like the first night, I got really cold, and I just had my tights on that I put on in Crown King, and I got cold. And then the second night, leaving Jerome, I had on like tights and long pants. I was ready for cold, man, and I got so fucking hot that I took it all off. Yeah. So I think in the nighttime, just like carry a pant and a jacket, or something easy to take on and off. That's another thing I learned, is like, you're gonna be so tired, like taking off clothing, putting on clothing. It's very time consuming when you get past 100 miles. So make it easy on yourself. Get shit that zips on and off, like
oversized clothing,
like
for like
big,
over your pack.
Yeah, and like zips so that the pants can go over your shoes, because the last thing you want to do when you're out there is take your shoes off. Trust me.
All right, good tip right there.
After 100 miles, you don't want to take your shoes off for any reason, really, other than at an aid station. Let's talk about where I knew the race was going wrong.
Where did you know the race was going wrong?
I knew when I left Friendly Pines,
which is what,
mile 71.
Okay.
I had slept for 1 hour. It was pretty decent sleep. I knew when I left Friendly Pines that things were slowing down and not kind of going as planned. And then I really knew when I left Iron King. And hi, Gracie, go ahead. I went through the Granite Dells with my dad, and I got to Iron King, and my feet were just destroyed, and I was moving so slow, and I wanted to sleep so bad. And then we left, we went to Fain Ranch, and it's 5.6 miles, and I was with my son and my dad, and I spent pretty much that entire section hallucinating. And thankfully Emery kept us on course.
Who's Emery?
Emery's my son.
How old is he?
He's 11. I think he's the only 11-year-old in the world to run a section of the Cocodona 250.
Okay.
But he would run ahead and find the flags. And then my dad was on Gaia, and I was just hallucinating. And what's weird about hallucinating is when you cross over that threshold, everything goes from like pain and misery to like funny. Like things just become funny, and like
Gracie, come.
it's very odd.
Good girl.
But it was probably one of my favorite parts of the race, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then I got to Fain Ranch and I wanted to sleep so bad. And I saw Lori standing there with her fucking pack on, and I knew that she was not gonna let me sleep, and that I was gonna be pushing on over Mingus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was like, okay, this might be harder than I thought. Well, let me back it up, dude, to when I was coming down Mingus.
Okay.
Because that's when, like,
All right.
the really actual, like, anxiety kind of set in of missing cutoffs. And I had this big rest planned at the house. And Lori told me, coming down Mingus, she's like, you're not going to get that rest. If you're lucky, you're going to get 20 minutes of sleep in Jerome. And I had been up for, I don't know, 50 hours or some shit like that. And I had a total breakdown and started crying. And I immediately started trying to problem solve this huge problem. And my solution was to start running as fast as I could. And which wasn't fast, but that's what I did. And I made it maybe 7 or 8 minutes, and it's like 95 degrees out, and I'm at mile 112 something, and it's like, that's not sustainable. So me and, Lori talked me through it and got me down off of Mingus, which was, if you guys are gonna do this race, be ready for the descent off of Mingus. Nobody talks about it. It is the most grueling 18 miles I have ever done, and a lot of really good runners struggle on that section and want to DNF when they get to Jerome. It will, especially if you go in the night, it will break you down. So just be ready for that section. So that's where my mindset kind of changed to, like, okay, my race might be over if I don't fix some things.
Okay. Let's talk about the end of your race. Explain that. Talk
The
about
end
that.
of my race.
How did that go down?
So the end of my race, I got into Jerome, and I had 55 minutes on the cutoff. So I had, Jerome's halfway, it's mile 125, and I spent maybe 15 minutes in that aid station. I got some food, I got some clothes. I was like shivering. I got up and I left. And I left with Joni, and she kept me on pace to get into Dead Horse. And I mean, it's like 8 miles, super runnable. And I could just, my feet, and I was falling asleep, and like, I knew I wasn't gonna get to sleep at Dead Horse, but I really like pushed as hard as I could to try and make up some time so I could sleep later. And so I made it into Dead Horse, and I took another, like, I think I was there for maybe 10 minutes, and they did my best, and put my food in a Ziploc, and I left. And that's mile, I don't know, 135 or something like that.
Yeah.
And Runner Plumber had kind of calculated what all my paces needed to be to make the cutoff to Sedona, where the cutoffs become more generous, so I could maybe get a little rest. Mm-hmm. And I just remember, like, going to a place in myself that I have never been, like, where, like, I gave everything I had as far as, like, what my feet could take, my physical energy, and, like, my mental ability, given how little rest I had had. And I was just falling asleep while hiking, and everybody thinks that sounds so weird until you do it. And once you do it, it's like, it's so good. You're so fucking tired. And Joni said, okay, you can take a 10-minute nap. And so I laid down, didn't sleep at all. And I was like, you know what, let's just get up and keep moving. And this is where the Instagram reel came from that Joni filmed, where I'm just delirious. And it was kind of there, like it took us like 30 minutes to go a half a mile. And that's where I knew I wasn't gonna make it to Deer Pass. And if I did, I knew I wasn't gonna survive the heat of the day going into Sedona. I did not have enough rest. And so I told Joni, I said, okay, I have to sleep. I have to sleep. I'm gonna fall over. And so I found the softest dirt I've ever laid in and got my bivvy, and it was cold, and I fell asleep, and it was like the best sleep I had had the whole race, and it was 20 minutes. And I woke up to my buddy Hector, a different Hector, saying, hey, is that Brandon? And then behind him there was somebody that I did not recognize, and her name was Marla, and she was the sweeper, and she explained to me how the sweeping process worked, and that I had officially been cut off at mile 142.2, and my race was over.
Gotcha.
And I wanted to sleep more because I wanted to sleep. Like, I think when your body gets to that point, it starts like prioritizing survival. And races like this are so primal. Like, they strip you down to the core of like what you actually have in you to give. And Marla's like, okay, well, I'm gonna send out rescue then if you sleep. And so I immediately I said, I don't need fucking rescue. I'll walk off this course myself. And I slammed a bunch of caffeine. And I wanted to make it to Deer Pass. But we were like doing some calculating and talking with my crew, and they're like, why don't we just pick you up on this Forest Service road? Like why just continue to just damage yourself? And it's like, that's my mentality. And I was like, I was so sad in that moment that I just wanted to make it to the next place, and I didn't. And so, you know, better minds prevailed, and they talked me into leaving the course, and I left. And then the next 2 days are just kind of a blur. And I remember on, I think it was Friday. Yeah, because it was, or maybe it was Thursday night. I don't remember. But I remember sitting on the couch in the house, and I was tracking some of my friends, and
Friends that are still on the course.
Friends that are on the course, and they were all pushing into Munns. Fucking Munns, dude. I just wanted to make it to Munns so bad, because if you make it to Munns, like, you're not done, but you can make it. Like, you know, the climbing's done, except for Eldon. But I mean, you're coming into the end, so you can climb anything. It's like, I just wanted to get to Munns, and I didn't, and it fucking killed me. And so this year, I'm gonna keep that memory in me of wanting to be on that fucking app with my number moving into Munns. And next year I'll make it into Munns. And you know, it's like my buddy Wes said on his Instagram thing, it's like, it's just stupid running, but it seems so important when you're out there. And it really does. I don't know why. It just seems so important. It's just so much bigger than you, these 200-mile races. So if you're watching this all the way to here, fucking make it to Munns, okay? I'll see you there.
Right on. Cool. All right, let's change topic.
Yeah, let's do that.
I thought of a good question.
Fucking Munns, dude. It gets me every time.
All right, that's good, man.
Every time.
Hey, vulnerability is good, dude. Question for, let's talk about what you experienced and maybe had not planned. That's all, they didn't record. Let's talk about the tampons, the chapped lips, the sore throat, all that
yeah,
stuff.
so there's a lot of things you need to be prepared for other than your fucking feet. I mean, your feet are gonna be terrible. You're gonna have to manage so many things. So I got a terrible bloody nose at like mile, I don't know, 80 in the middle of the night, and I always carry tampons with me because they're the best for bloody noses.
Good fire starter too.
Or no, it wasn't mile 80. I hadn't even made it to Whiskey Row yet, dude. It was like mile 50. Okay. So, but I had a tampon in my nose from mile 50 to mile, I don't know how far, 91.
Yeah.
And then terrible sore throat from all the dust, and I think, you know, the altitude, you're up and down, and my ears just like so plugged up, man. They didn't pop until I left Dead Horse, and that was a pain in the ass. And then all the sores on your tongue from all the electrolytes you drink, like those took 3 weeks to heal. My tongue was just numb for weeks after this race. So there's so many other things you have to manage than just like your feet and your energy. Like, these races literally will take everything you have in you to even make it halfway.
Good, good. Let's wrap it up. And so you've signed up for next year, and I think you kind of already touched, but like, what's your strategy going
so
next year?
I have a coach now who Runner Plumber's my coach, and he's like helping me to actually learn how to run. Cause like, I'm just tough. I can just beat the shit out of myself forever, but I can't run. And if you're gonna do these races, you gotta be able to run. There is running involved. And so I'm getting good at that. And a lot of people that are good at these races, they all strength train. Like, so I started lifting weights, which is gonna be a big part of my training. And just like working on my mindset to like, just, you can't stop moving. Like, you have to find a way to rise above your mind telling you to stop. And it's so hard. Like, they talk about it in Chad Wright's podcast, like the tyranny of over your will or something, to just move. And it's like, music doesn't work anymore. Motivational quotes don't work anymore. Your reasons why don't work. Like, things I thought would keep me moving, I didn't give a shit about. You have to find a way to mentally rise above that desire to stop. And it is so incredibly strong. So that's what I'm gonna work on. I have a 100-mile race in August, because I had never even ran 100 miles until I left Fain Ranch, and on my way to Mingus was the first 100-miler I have ever done. So, you know, I definitely threw myself into the deep end, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So I'm gonna be a lot smarter next year. And thanks for watching. I hope this video helped. If you guys are doing this race or have AS or whatever, send me a message on Instagram at doasis. And I love sharing my experience and my journey, because I'm like, you know, I'm less than talented. I really shouldn't even be out here, but I'm out here, and it's like, if I can do it, you can do it. So follow along, because I think I'm just getting started.